Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And regular viewers will know that I hold all politicians of every hue, shade and colour in complete contempt. There are one or two, very few exceptions, for whom I do have some sympathy or some even admiration for their bravery in doing what they are doing. But 99% of them are just, well, contemptuous scum. I can't think of a better way of putting it. And no more have we seen than in the argument that occurred yesterday in Parliament. Now, I reported yesterday that this discussion was going to be happening. It's all to do with gender and sex and the 2010 Equality Act. And now I'm reporting on what happened in Parliament yesterday. And it was an absolute farce. Now, I will say that any MP, male or female, who fails to agree to change this wording to make it absolutely clear that the 2010 Act, when it refers to male, female, he, she, that sort of thing, is referring to physical, actual, sex, rather than any perceived notions of what an individual may identify as, then they will, upon that, that hill that they're choosing to die on, that will mean that they are seen as being anti the safety of women. They are all for endangering women. They're all for taking protection in law away from women. They're all for removing freedoms from women. They're also there to remove all kind of fairness in sport, and they're to utterly destroy women's and female sport in general. These people are doing so much harm, and yet they think they're being virtuous. We need to see the list of everyone who speaks out against this proposal and make sure their names are published and everybody knows who they are. And then I would ask all women up and down the country to look on the list to see whether their local MP voted for or against, and you vote accordingly. And if they voted to endanger you and your children, you vote them out of office. Let's look at this story, and you will not believe what some of these MPs are saying. They really are not representing the majority of this country. Here goes. Now, I will say that some of the things that have been said yesterday were absolutely astounding, as in jaw-droppingly amazing that these people would say such things. But we'll go through them and we will get to them. So, set back in fight to protect key women's rights as MPs clash over the shake-up of the Equality Act. The PM said in April biological sex was fundamentally important for women's rights. So, ministers last night dashed the hopes that equality law will be clarified swiftly to protect women's rights. So anyone who's going against this is basically saying they don't give one shit about women or their rights, and they don't want to protect them in law. And it is as simple as that. That's it. If you vote against this, you are pro harming women and girls. There is no other way of spinning it. That is the only truth. A heated parliamentary debate heard that the government wants to take its time to consider proposals to rewrite the Equality Act 2010 on the basis of biological sex rather than gender identity, which would bar transgender women, i.e. men, from female-only spaces. And that is absolutely fundamental. Women's Minister Maria Caulfield told MPs these issues under discussion today are complex and we need to be proceeding carefully and respectfully. What she's saying there is we don't want to rush in and protect women quickly. We need to slow it all down so that we can be seen to not be harming trans. Meanwhile, the trans are in there doing the most awful thing to women. Maria Caulfield needs to be fired today. Rishi Sunak is pushing this. He's backing this bill and he's saying this needs to change now. And his own women's minister, a woman who is the minister responsible for women, is saying we need to slow this down. We don't want to rush towards protecting women. We need these women to still be in danger slightly longer. That woman needs to be fired today. She said, and she continued, "It's only right and proper we take timely consideration of the advice we have been given." No, you just have to use your common sense, you inbred, stupid bitch. Rishi Sunak had declared in April that biological sex was fundamentally important when it came to protecting women's rights or women's spaces. There's Rosie Duffield, one of the good ones, Labour. Her and the Tory one, God, I can see her face, can't think of her name, it'll come to me. She's on the side of angels. Miriam Cates is the Tory one. Between the pair of them, they have suffered so much abuse. They both stand up. They're on opposite parties, opposite sides of the House. They have both suffered so much abuse for their stance on the protection of women and girls that they've actually formed a little club in Parliament where they have this club where the women there who are suffering for their beliefs that women should be protected in law, and they have this and they come together and they're forming a power base, and it's a cross-party power base, and good luck to them, I say. Anyway, Labour's equality spokesman Annalise Dodds, a woman for whom the word intelligence was never an issue. She's as thick as two short planks. She is absolutely a moron of the first water, and she wants to do utmost harm. I mean, she really does. But anyway, she said the opposition would respond accordingly when the government set out its proposals, rather than vehemently saying, yes, we agree, we must protect women. She can't say that. She daren't say that because her party is so tied up in knots over this whole trans issue that if any Labour supporter comes out and says, yes, we must protect women, they will be castigated by the tiny minority of mentally ill men for whom the Labour Party seem to think are numerous beyond bound and they're more powerful than anyone else. They're a very strange lot. But she added on that later on that her party supports the protection of certain spaces that are for biological women, such as refuges. But they don't. They didn't vote for it. They voted the other way. Another Labour frontbencher, DV spokesman Jess Phillips, a woman I just cannot stand in any way, shape or form. She's the gob from Brummagem, and she really is awful. But she at least has the right side on this. She said sex and gender are different. She said in the discrimination she had suffered in her life, it's always because of her biology. And she said that refuges for DV victims should be allowed to provide female-only spaces. Unlike the one I reported yesterday, where there was these women in this hostel, and they had to go and get someone to go and take the man out of the hostel, even though he was laying there semi-dressed. But it wasn't the top half that he was exposing. Oh, and he had the full meat and two veg. But he was a lady, and so they were supposed to put up with that. These are victims, and they're supposed to have that. It isn't right. And I tell you what, if that was my wife in there, not that she would be in there because he wouldn't be there, but if that was anyone I knew, I'd be in there, and he would be a lady because I'd have it in a jar. Anyway, going back to the gob, she said the discrimination has always been because of her biology. Right, Labour MP Rosie Duffield, who faced a load of abuse for standing up for women's rights, said that although the Equality Act was meant to ensure that organisations treat trans people fairly, this did not mean requiring other people to pretend that they believe that being trans, for example, someone who's born male and perhaps changes the name of their clothes, or who may take hormones, or even have some physical surgery, is the same as being a woman. It's a delusion. And the trans lobby, who are deluded, mentally ill men, on the whole, they want us, normal people who are sane, to go along with their delusion. They want us to lie so that their little hurty fifis are okay. I refuse to lie. And I will stick with the 2010 Equality Act because I have a strong philosophical belief that men are men and women are women. And you cannot change just because you think you want to. That's my philosophical belief, and I am protected in law with that. We are going through the looking glass here, people. Several other Labour MPs, because it's always Labour, isn't it? In Westminster Hall debate, held after 100,000 people signed opposing petitions on the divisive topic, warned that the legal reform would damage transgender rights. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. It would strengthen women's rights. It does not weaken the rights of trans people. Trans people can still get on a bus, they can still ride a bike, they can do whatever they like. Nobody is stopping a trans person doing anything. We are going to stop biological men going into women's safe spaces, but that's not the same thing, is it? Conservatives insisted change was necessary to protect women and girls, particularly in healthcare and in sport. Backbencher Miriam Cates, that's the girl I could not remember upstairs, but I did in the end. She sparked uproar by saying that aggressive, misogynistic trans activism, which it is, meant ordinary women are frightened to go to hospital. Ordinary men fear for the safety of their daughters in public toilets, and ordinary children are subjected to a psychological experiment where they are told they can choose their gender. They are being groomed, and every teacher that pushes this needs to be on a register after doing 5 years in jail for grooming children. Every single one. Anyone who talks to a child about this is a groomer. And you know what groomers are? They're one step away from peas. Every single one of them. There isn't a doubt. If you're addressing this kind of conversation and pushing this agenda on children, there's a reason. And we all know what the reason is. Now, the SNP, and here we go. Are you ready? The SNP's Hannah Bardell, who I can now confirm is a moron, intervened, saying trans people are being characterised as predators. That's because government figures show that people in prison who are trans are 10 times more likely to be in prison for sex crimes. That means that in the general population, it can be extrapolated thus, that trans people are 10 times more likely to be sexual predators. So if these people are being characterised like that, there is a reason. People say, oh, it's stereotype, you're stereotyping. The stereotype comes from fact. So you need to address the problem. And here we go, are you ready? Fellow SNP MP Kirsty Blackman sparked incredulity when she claimed, I have no idea what my chromosomes are. I have an assumption that they are probably XY, but I don't know. If you are so stupid that you don't know what your chromosomes are, then you need to get up, walk out of that parliament, quit as an MP, and go and do something more within your intelligence bracket. Colouring within the lines, I would suggest, or peeling potatoes, because you are a moron. Unless, of course, you're just saying that for a political point, in which case you're an even bigger moron, because you're actually highlighting your ignorance and your stupidity. Tory backbencher Nick Fletcher said that the trans inclusion could spell the end of women's sport. He is right. Many girls will see what is happening and think, what is the point? And he will, because all these men go, oh, I'm a woman now, so I can win a race because I'm really shit at sport when I'm going against men, but I'm brilliant against women because I'm 3 times as strong and twice as fast. Aren't I marvellous? Call me Sally, watch me run. You sad, tiny cocked penis heads. Honestly, you are inadequate. You are nothings. And yet you have to do this so you feel good about yourself. Seek psychiatric help, you mentally ill tossers. I'm coming up. It is enough to drive you bonkers, isn't it? How do these people function as human beings? And every single one of them who speaks out against this, every single one of them wants to hurt girls, wants to damage girls, wants to remove rights, freedoms and opportunities from girls. And for what? So they can look virtuous to a bunch of mentally ill predators who are 1 inch away from being peas. All of them. And these people in the Labour Party particularly want to cosy up to them. Really? What are you? Pals of G. Savile? Pals of Gary Glitter? You sick mothers. What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you pushing this shit all the time onto children? Is the whole of the Labour Party pro kiddie fiddling? Is that what it is? Is that what it means to be a socialist now? You like children, but not in a good way. Fuck's sake. Every single one. What? You can see now, honestly, I get angry, I do, I need to calm down. But you can see now why I treat all politicians with contempt. They're arguing the toss, angels on a pinhead, about nothing. They aren't addressing the point. Shall we protect women? Shall we protect children? And they're arguing maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. There is no argument maybe we shouldn't. And if the moment anyone comes up with a maybe we shouldn't, we know exactly what that person is. He's someone who wants access to children. Otherwise, he'd just go, no, we must protect these children. To do otherwise, it kind of indicates they have an ulterior motive, doesn't it? Anyway, I shall stop there. Please do judge these bastards. I shall stop there and come up. I am up. What am I talking about? I shall stop there and end the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, protect your children, and do get angry with this shit, because it's the only way things are going to change. And goodbye.